Okay, so unlike before, here I have not written any code. Instead, we are going to write the code together so that you will understand how to construct the R codes for verifying simple results which we have derived in the theory classes. So the first example that which talks about the binomial distribution. So let us consider that. So binomial n theta is the distribution we are dealing with, and beta distribution, beta AB is going to be the prior. Okay, so now let us decide the parameters. Don't jumble here with the sample size and the n. Here n represents the binomial parameter and not the sample size. Here the sample size is just 1. Suppose n binomial 5, and suppose theta true parameter value, suppose let us take it as 0.7. Okay, now theta naught also we need to decide. So suppose theta naught is, because h naught is theta less than or equal to theta naught. So let us see what is the value. So suppose take theta naught to be equal to 0.5. So clearly here we are having a situation where theta is greater than theta naught, means we will be sampling from a distribution where h naught is not true. So what we expect is Bayes factor in the favor of h naught should not give us large values, it should give us small values. So let us see what do we get. So let us first generate x 1 n theta. So let us see whether it works or not. Okay, so what is the value which we got? So 4. So fine, at most it can be 5. So we have got it as 4. Now let us not change it. We will use x equal to 4 only. Now what we want is we want to compute the Bayes factor for testing the hypothesis. So what we are going to need? We are going to need posterior odds upon prior odds. Now prior odds are to be calculated using the beta distribution as a prior. So let us first decide the parameters of beta. So say A is equal to say 3 and B is equal to 4. So let us see if this is the case, then what will be the, how the distribution will look like. So theta is a sequence from 0 to 1, means you can take 0.01 and 0.99, doesn't matter. Okay, so now we want to calculate the prior distribution. So it will be d beta at point th with parameters a and b. Now let us, oh, I did not run a and b. So now let us run it again. Now let us have a look at the plot. Okay, so the mode is around 0.4. So fine. Now let us compute the posterior PDF. It is not needed actually, but I am doing it just for our understanding. So it will be a plus x and n minus x plus b. So let us see what do we get. Okay, so the mode has now shifted towards the right side. This is what was expected to happen. Now let us compute the Bayes factor. So the prior probability, so PR naught is, let us write the H naught and H1 first to avoid confusion. So H naught is theta less than or equal to theta naught, and H1 is theta greater than theta naught. Okay, now PR naught means prior probability of H naught. So that will be P beta, the probability of, that is the CDF of beta distribution with parameters a and b at the point theta naught. Okay, and PR1 will be 1 minus P beta, or you can simply say 1 minus PR naught. Okay, now posterior probabilities of H naught and H1. I am storing them as PS0. So it will be P beta at theta naught with points A plus X and N minus X plus B. So these will be the parameters, and PS1 will be simply 1 minus PS naught. Okay, so now the base factor will be PS0 upon PS1, all these divided by PR0 upon PR1. So now let us run them. Let us look at the base factor. Okay, so now I hope you remember that the criteria which we had discussed when I had shared the notes with you. I hope you remember them. So the criteria was that the if the base factor is less than 3, you are going to strongly reject H naught. If the base factor is between 3 to 6, you are going to reject H naught simply. And if base factor is larger than 6, then you are not going to reject H naught. Notice that these are not the standard values. It's like over the years people have found that these values work in most of the posterior distributions, and so these values are used. Some people also say that if base factor is less than 1, reject null hypothesis, and if base factor is greater than 1, don't reject. So you might get to hear different cutoffs, but I have found these to be the cutoffs in most of the textbooks of Bayesian inference, and so we are using them. So in this case, we are rejecting the null hypothesis strongly, very strongly. Why? Because this is base factor is less than 3. Now what will happen if we change the value of theta naught? Theta. So right now theta naught is 0.5 and I am generating a random sample from zero point 0.7. So what will happen if I generate a random sample from the a value of theta which lies under the range specified by H naught. So suppose I say 0.3. Now let us see what changes. So now X is only 2. Now prior and other stuff I have not changed. You might notice the change in the posterior distributions plot. Now the mode has shifted towards the left. So look at the base factor. Yes, it has slightly increased but not drastically increased, but yes, it is larger than 1. So as I have told you before, even if you say that you are not going to reject H naught if base factor is greater than 1, that is fine. 1 is also a very common cutoff for base factor. So either 1 or 3 you can use. It will be okay. Now, but it is not strongly, means you are not here still, if you follow the cutoff as 3, you are still rejecting the null hypothesis. That is because of the difference between theta and also the difference between theta and theta naught, and also the sample size being only 1, and so we got X is equal to 2. Okay, so now let us see if I change it to say 0.1. Let us see what happens. Okay, so now see, the moment I changed it to 0.1, the base factor has increased clearly. It is more than 6, means you are not going to reject the null hypothesis at all here. In fact, you are going to accept the null hypothesis. So that is what was expected to happen. Okay, so now let us try to repeat the story for the second example. Wait, I think you will also be interested in knowing what is the role of prior parameters. What will happen if I change the sample size? What will happen if I increase the value of n? Let us see that also. So, suppose I changed n from 5 to 10. Okay, so now let us see what happens. And now I am going back from theta equal to 0.1 to theta equal to 0.3. So not far away from the cutoff, that is the boundary point of H naught, which is theta naught, which is 0.5 here. So let us see what happens. So okay, this posterior mode shifted a bit. So you can first plot the posterior and then plot the prior. That will also be alright. So let us first plot the posterior and then plot the prior. So yes, the mode had shifted towards the left. Now let us compute the base factor. So yes, even for theta equal to 0.3, it is 13.1148 because I have changed n from 5 to 10. So binomial 10 means it is as if I have 10 observations from Bernoulli trials. So the sample, indirectly the sample size is increasing here because the binomial information in a binomial sample of size 1 is equivalent to information contained in Bernoulli samples. So in that sense, if you change n, the results are going to be better. Now what will happen if we change the prior, or what will happen if I change from theta 0.3 to 0.4? Still I am very much in the range of h naught. So what I expect is that h naught should not get rejected. So let us see what happens here. Okay. So notice the change in the posterior PDF now. So 0.77. So the base factor is now less than 1, less than 3. So see, this is what happens when you are very close to the boundary point specified by H0 and H1. So when you are very close to the boundary point, it is really difficult to make the right decision. In fact, people end up making the wrong decision in many cases, many such cases. So because theta is very close to theta naught, so even though H naught should have been accepted, we are ending up with rejecting the H naught. So what will happen in this case? In this case, I need more information. In that sense, I need large n, a larger value of n. So suppose I have changed from 10 to 15. Let us see what happens here. Now x changes to 5. Okay, now you can notice the change in the posterior mode very easily here. So see the change in base factor. You are still rejecting. If you follow the condition of 3 to 6, you are still rejecting the H naught, but not strongly, right? If it is greater than 6, you are not going to reject H naught, but it is near to 6, so you can say you are rejecting, but not strongly, mild rejection. So you can simply say that the user may decide to accept H naught in such cases. Means if you follow the cutoff of 1, then you are going to accept H naught here. So there are two choices here which you can have. Either choose reject H naught when base factor is less than 1, and don't reject H naught if base factor is greater than 1, or you can uh, follow the criteria which I have given in the notes. Either of them will be fine. Now let us see what will happen if we have uh, random observations from uniform distribution. So again I have suppose random observations, 15 observations from uniform 0, 1. So suppose theta is equal to say 2. So I have a random sample from uniform 0 theta, not 0, 0, 1, sorry, uniform 0 theta. Okay, now suppose theta naught is, say, because we are testing the hypothesis theta greater than or equal to theta naught. So I am taking theta equal to say 3. So here we are generating an observation which is not from script theta naught. That is, here H1 will be true. So now again follow the procedure. So there we had computed the base factor as t raised to n plus alpha into 1 minus into theta naught raised to alpha minus a raised to alpha upon a raised to alpha into theta naught raised to n plus alpha minus t raised to n plus alpha. So all of this first we must fix the prior distribution to compute the base vector. So suppose A and alpha are the parameters. So A is the lower limit for theta a priori, that is the Pareto distribution which is used as a prior distribution for theta is positive only if theta is greater than A. So here I am taking A to be equal to 1 and alpha is another parameter. So suppose I take alpha to be equal to say 0.5. I have just chosen it arbitrarily. Let us plot the prior PDF and try to get the idea about it. So suppose TH contains the values of theta. So the value should start from A to, because see earlier it will be 0, means if you start from 0, see what will happen if you start from 0. See, if you start from 0, the PDF should be well defined when you compute the prior PDF. So instead, I think theoretically we should be correct. So let us start from 1. So A, so A to say A is 1. So say up to 10. I am just trying these values. Later we can change it. Now the prior PDF is A into alpha into A raised to alpha upon th raised to alpha plus 1, right? This will be the prior PDF. Alpha a raised to alpha upon theta raised to alpha plus 1. This expression holds only when theta is greater than a. We should not forget it. Either this way you can directly compute, or what you can do is you can define a function separately for computing prior PDF, and in that function you can specifically mention that if theta is less than a, then return 0, so that the prior PDF will be 0 automatically for all the values of theta which are smaller than a. So either way you can do it. So now the posterior PDF is, now notice that the posterior PDF's values start from t. So now because you are calculating this for the same range of th, because otherwise you won't be able to plot it in the same graph. What I am trying to do is I am trying to get the graph similar to this. So I want to plot prior and posterior in the same graph. So but for that the values on the x-axis should be same. So here the support for prior and posterior distributions is different. So what we can do is we can write prior PDF and posterior PDF both as functions. So let us write this as a function of, let us say some parameter say z. And now what we are going to do is, if z is less than a, return 0. If z is greater than a, term will be equal to alpha into a raised to alpha upon, now instead of th I'll have z raised to alpha plus 1. And then if this is the case, then return the term. Okay, so this is how the function should work. So similarly the posterior PDF will be like this. Z is less than t, and if z is greater than t, it will be n plus alpha into n plus, sorry, t raised to n plus alpha this bracket is not needed upon z raised to n plus alpha plus 1. I hope this is all right. Return. So both these functions are, what they are doing is they are computing the prior PDF here. Here we are computing the posterior PDF. So one more way to save the time is write a function which computes Pareto PDF with parameters say alpha and a. So what you have to do is you have to use this function. So in that function you can use z and a and alpha as arguments, but then when you call the function while computing base factor, you should be careful. So just to avoid this confusion, I have written separate functions. Now let us calculate prior PDF values and posterior PDF values separately. So it will be PR PDF at point th. Similarly, PS PDF dot val will be PS PDF at th. So let us see whether it works or not. So, and t, we should not forget to calculate this t first. So this t is nothing but, if you remember, this t is maximum, sorry, maximum of x and a. So we should not forget to calculate this t. Now, oh no, it is not working. So sometimes this works, sometimes this doesn't work. So something went wrong. Let us check what went wrong. So what is the value of t? Let us see. 5. Okay. Now, did we run the earlier part of the code? I don't think so. So let us run this part of the code first. Still we are getting an error. So let us check the value of a. It is 1. th. Now let us take a sequence from 0 to 10. Now let us see whether it works. Okay, so see, it is not working like this. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to create a vector, and then now for I in 1 to length of th, PR PDF dot val I, that is ith element in this vector, is nothing but the prior PDF with the argument as the ith value in the vector th, and repeat this for the PS PDF dot val also. So Control C, Control V helps a lot. That is the best invention in computer science. You might be thinking, and I agree with you. So now let us run this. Again I am running. Oh, replacement has length 0. Something is definitely wrong. So let us see whether these distributions are giving the correct value. The functions are giving the correct value or not. So PR PDF at point a plus 1. Let us see. Okay. So now PR PDF at point A. Nothing happened. It should return 0, na? It should return 0. So let us see what went wrong there. So suppose Z is equal to A. Because equality we have not included. So we should include equality somewhere. So Z greater than or equal to A, Z greater than or equal to T. So see, this is what we lacked in the definition. So we have now improvised our functions. Let us run them again. So now let us see whether it, okay, so it has given us values. Now let us see whether this works or not. Okay, it worked. Similarly, here also it is working. Okay, now let us try to plot them. So notice that this is the 0 part. You can simply ignore it. And now lines. So this is the advantage of using RStudio. It works, saves your time. So okay, so see, first we should plot posterior and then should plot the prior so that we get a better picture. So let us do that. Now you will notice the difference. Totally flat. So prior PDF is very small compared to the posterior PDF. That's why it is looking as if it is 0, but it is not 0. So okay, now this is not what we wanted. We wanted the base factor. So now let us try to compute the base factor. So it was, base factor is t raised to n plus alpha into theta naught raised to alpha minus a raised to alpha. So let us first compute the numerator. Let us first compute the numerator for base factor. So t raised to n plus alpha into